Good morning, everybody. Let's get the chat up, get organised, and here I am. Is there anybody here? Is there anybody watching? If not, that's okay, because I'm just chilling here with my coffee. Adjusting myself. Get my jacket sorted out. So I got a new jacket to keep nice and warm for my streams, as it gets cold in here at winter, because I can't have the fan heater on, so it gets very cold. And you can probably hear from my voice, I had a bit of flu last week, hence not streaming. I was done. I was ill. Well, cold, flu, either way. My throat was really, really sore. Horrendous. So, I wonder if anybody shows up. Alright, got 3 people here. I'm enjoying playing that at the minute. There's a bit of a knack to doing that. Just get a footstool. It's a funny time to stop playing straight away, immediately when you go to bed. At 6 in the morning. Do say hello in the chat. Oh, that's smart. Alec, excellent. I just saw you there a few hours ago. Brilliant. Glad you're here. So I think I'm doing some more guitar stuff. Guitar seems to be, like, I'm into it at the minute. Even though my hands are really cold. So I'll talk about what I've been doing. with guitars this week. I was ill with flu. I mean, you can hear my voice is a bit like still knackered. I think it was flu. My throat was really sore. But no, I'm back and so I've really got to get some people into the coaching groups at the minute. So I'm gonna have to really give that a push this week. So I'm gonna have to stream on an evening. I can't this evening though because I'm actually fully booked till. Oh God, I don't even want to think about it. I'm actually not going to finish work till 10 o'clock tonight. That's amazing, isn't it? It's ridiculous. Yeah. So, yeah, it's 10 o'clock tonight. And then I'm streaming tomorrow morning, and then Wednesday's an evening. So there'll be people happy about that, because when I do a Wednesday evening, the numbers are right up. I know, but isn't it hard finding people? Because you've got to be, I suppose, they've got to know that's the thing that they want to do as well. And once you crack it and they're in the group, people just stay in for like 3 years. That's like really good. But I just get carried away, do other things, and then forget that I'm actually meant to be running a business. Whoops. Just got to get those angles in there. That's my Joe Bonamassa hack. You know, they always do that. Or Eric Johnson. So I just do my groups of 5 descending like that. Smart Alec. Well, don't feel guilty, because the whole point of like the coaching thing is like this is only the tip of the iceberg. So I mean, if you're feeling like you're getting value, just imagine. I'm not trying to pitch it to you, Alec, but just imagine if you're in a group, right, and you're getting the coaching. Just imagine where you'll be. So yeah, I mean. And I think like it's the music coaching is for like everybody who is interested in making music. Well, not more than interested, actually wants to like make something and finish it, and get it up to basically releasing. So it's covering all of that. And I was just thinking that obviously like a lot of people, I don't know how I ended up here to be honest, but obviously quite a lot of people who follow me about are, you know, your guitar players. And then I think about, well, what's probably one of the number one problems that they've got? Well, they've all got like, you know, you're all playing probably guitars through your computer. Most of you probably have some sort of software. It doesn't matter what software you're using. And I think most of people will have thought about trying to make music or have attempted to make music and then just found it really hard to get past one tiny idea and then not really take it any further. And I just think, like, for guitarists, right, wouldn't it be great if you could just knock up your own original music, you know? I mean, I end up using, like, I do actually play over a lot of backing tracks, believe it or not particularly through choice, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, I did like 2 hours of backing tracks yesterday, and I just realised I must have played through everything, right? And I just think there's not much out there that's like very exciting. Just the usual neo soul, jazz, like cheesy rock music. Just everything was just like so vanilla and boring. I thought, God, do you know what? This is like damaging me as an artist. And it occurred to me that I reckon there's a need for guitar players out there to actually get up off their arses and start making more music, you know, and sitting and recording and finishing stuff and putting it out there and not actually worrying about the quality of what they're doing, because kind of you're only as good as your last project, aren't you? And how do you know on your guitar? Because like making music, right, writing music and starting and finishing stuff, the one thing that's really important about that is it's the thing that develops you as an artist. Like sitting here and isn't really developing you as an artist. That's like just like noodling away and playing some blues, isn't it? But actually, I mean, even though a lot of the decisions and the way that I see, like everything that I play, right? I'm not saying I'm massively unique, but the choices and decisions of how I bring things together, literally from day one, has always been based on of how I think I should be expressing myself. Okay, I've wanted to express thoughts, feelings, and emotions through my guitar, and obviously I've gravitated to shred for some reason, and so then like shredding and doing things around that, and then learning different ways to play licks is all to do with how really I see me expressing myself, and yourself and myself are the unique things in the world, and that's what we should be doing. We should be focusing in on those things, but to actually get there and to know, you have to start kind of writing music, you know. And the great thing about music is music's just loads and loads and loads of decisions, isn't it? And problems that you know that you have to solve to get there. And it's through that experimentation that you actually find your unique self. And it's through these problems and actually solving these problems. I know when I say problems, I mean I love problems from a coaching point of view, because as soon as I embraced the idea of a problem rather than a challenge, when would that be? About 4 years ago. Again, it was it was a massive jump in my musicianship and playing. It was quite incredible actually, and that, they're jumping about. That's another really important factor about coaching. Like a lot of my big gains in what I'm doing and direction that I have and knowing what I'm doing, it comes from that coaching aspect and comes from just mindset things of like, okay, I really like problems, all right, and if I solve problems, that's how I'm going to create new knowledge for myself, and that's how I'm going to get better, you know. This whole live show was solving a problem, you know. The biggest problem being myself. But if you take this as like just something that you can look at for an experiment of problems, you look at the first live show I ever did, which is like up there because you leave them all in, right? Where I'm in my pajamas and I've got a shitty webcam, and for some reason I only had a red light, and it just looks like I'm at the bottom of a sea in a submarine, making bleepy bloppy synthwave music, right? That was like a huge amount of problems to solve to get my channel up to where it is now, okay? To the look and what I did. So there was lots and lots of problems to solve on the way, and you can't solve them all at the same time, because a lot of it was because a lot of it is because you're not aware of all of the problems. I mean, I was kind of like, that's okay, that'll do. And my missus was like, that's all right, just do that. But she was probably frightened I was going to spend money on stuff. But over the time, what I had to do is I just had to work out and go, right, well, I need a better camera. So, like, Thomas is like sort of my crack dealer for, for cameras and equipment. So, I went and got a camera off him to get going. Because what he'll do is like, I'll buy a camera off him and then he'll upgrade. So he wanted to upgrade and then so I got his camera and then I started with that and then that was a leap forward. So I started having decent camera and I remember I had the camera for a while and I procrastinated on it because I was thinking, and it was just at the time really we're talking about as coaches this new phase of being a musician, you see. And what that is obviously the pandemic had happened and kind of we knew that would clean out the system quite a bit and there would be a lot, certainly in electronic music and the DJs, there would be a lot of collateral damage done with that and a lot of people just ending up losing their careers and the jobs and stuff like that. And then it was like the kind of writing was on the wall that there was going to be an almost an industrial revolution with that. Hence the streaming sort of really kind of exploded at that point. So I knew that was the way forward. And I knew like, if I'm going to make music my life, right? And, that's what I want for everybody. I want everybody to have music as a life. I don't want people to think, oh God, I'm too old. I can't do it. That's just absolute awful. You should, music's another form of communication. We should be all out there in front of people releasing music, doing video stuff, doing performances, if you like doing that and spreading the metaphorical love of music to each other, But the writing was on the wall, so I had to think about hard about doing that stream. But unfortunately for me, unfortunately, I don't know which it was, right? But when that pandemic hit, you see, for those of you who don't know what I do during the day, I'm a therapeutic musician, you see, and so I work with patients one-to-one basis, severe learning difficulties, severe autism, mental health, rehabilitation. So like I cover everything, and it's like lots of different kind of roles what I do. Some of it's like really fun, like I'll get to have a jam. Other times we're making music. Other times I'm using music as a form of communication, intensive interaction, helping patients who can't communicate verbally to communicate. And also music is one of the really big things about it is a lot of the times music is used as a means of de-escalating people if they become heightened or the mood changes and stuff like that. It's a great way to just calm a room, But so I was the only musician with a job. So I thought like everybody else had loads of time to like do the live streams, and I had to go to work, and that was a very interesting time. So there I was on the front line, thinking, right, okay, I'm probably going to be at home, but actually I was given the choice. They said like, are you going to do this? Because nobody was sure whether you do music or not, and what have you. So, and I was like, no, I'm in because I didn't see why I should like not do it, and everybody else have to sit on a ward. So, I was on the wards, which was like it was just mad. So I didn't have the time to do it. So it eventually, what actually happened? The call to action was I eventually got COVID, and then I was in this basement. But everybody in the house freaked out, and it's like, oh, you'll have to go. All right, thanks, Grant. That's cool. I'll come back to that. Do tell me if I'm going on, right? Because basically this morning I didn't really plan anything for this week. To be fair, I've never planned anything. What am I saying? The Guitar Summit. That sounds official. What's a Guitar Summit? Is there going to be government officials there? What was I saying? So it took the pandemic for me to then be stuck in here, and luckily I didn't have any symptoms. And then I just started, got the camera out, and then just started scanning around the room, and I found one angle, and it's like everything just came. The heavens opened. It was like, oh, and that was the shot, which is this angle. I've never been able to change this angle actually, apart from the one going this way. And then that was it. And then that solved one problem. I now had a really good camera, but then everything in the background looked terrible. So then I started getting the Hue lights out and arranging them about, and then having to buy some more lighting. And then the lighting wasn't. Then the lens wasn't quite right because I couldn't get the low enough f-stop, which meant a whole camera upgrade after a bit. So you can see the problems were just going, and then I solved them. So I got the quality of the stream just ended up going, and then obviously got the new camera, and then the problem was like, do I shoot an S-Log or not an S-Log? And then it was like, no, don't go an S-Log, use and colorize the picture, and on and on and on, and fixing all these problems is where I got here. But you can clearly see, right, that how terrible it was when I first started to how it is now. But that was just like an obsession with fixing everything in the background. I also had to fix myself because I had then I realised I had absolutely no personality, and that had to grow. And the only way to do that is exposure. I must admit, like, I was a bit slow off the mark with that. But like now I feel fairly, I feel fairly confident just sitting in front of the camera and talking to people, as long as I'm no good if you go, just tell us a fun story. I can never ever think of one, I mean, there's plenty of fun stories there, but I'm really bad at the chit chat. I just want to get down to business all the time and talk about all the exciting possibilities that music gives us, which is kind of why I'm here with a guitar, So yes, Smart Alec wins problems and opportunities are a huge thing for him, and which is amazing. And wins problems and opportunities is the way to review everything that you do, and every time I do something after this stream, after I make music, after I do a session, I do a quick review of wins, problems, and opportunities. And for those of you who are like, oh well, why wins, problems, and opportunities? What's all that about? Where did that process come from? And that process is inspired by the physicist and philosopher David Deutsch. So I don't wake up and then go, oh, this sounds good. It's either coached to me, or I find it, or develop it, or modify it. So yeah, I mean, like David Deutsch talks about problems being more expansive than the universe, which I thought was very, very interesting. And when you think about it, that's how we learn, isn't it? Everything that we do, everything that we experience in life is fixing a problem. It's just an exchange of dealing with really bad problems and then dealing with really good problems. And what's interesting is, you'll fix a problem, and then it creates another set of problems, and it just goes on and on and on. It's just like a kaleidoscope. So having a constant review makes total sense. It's like you crack one technique or something, and then it makes you aware of some other things that you have to on your guitar that you have to look at. The same with when you're doing your music. You'll find that, okay, I need to learn this mixing technique, or I need to start trying to write contrasting sections in my music. How do you do that? And so that more problems happen, and the more problems you have, the more solutions you come up with, and the better you become as a music producer. And at the end of the day, you can become one of those insightful musicians or music producers that'll sit in the room when you're writing music and they've just always got the answers to everything. What's this? When you write a song, do you always write it linearly, or do you have a cool chorus? You also go the other way around. Yes. So there's lots of different ways, right? A track can be written. Okay. So when we think about it, you could just start with the drums, and then you could so that's bottom up writing, isn't it? Drums, bass. Sometimes you start with a melody, and then you might then start building around that. I might have some cool chords with like a little chord melody going in it, and then that might form the bass. So really anything. So there's no. I think in answer to the question, I don't have one set way that becomes designing. Okay, at the end of the day, all I'm after is just expressing what I'm thinking or not thinking at the time, and there is no sort of method to that initial start of it. The only method there is that I've made a decision to write some music. That is it. And when it comes to writing music, a lot of the time I like to be like immediately in flow. So I'm not really that kind of conscious analytically of processes. It's just kind of coming out of me. It's just like when you're jamming and you're really deep into it. You don't always think about everything that you're playing. You're not kind of designed into it. I'm not thinking ahead of what's happening. But interesting enough, like one thing I am doing a lot of is making sure my head's singing along to what I'm playing, because like sometimes like I've noticed that I can get quite lazy with that and just start playing, and it becomes a thing, and then it randomly kind of kicks in when I start thinking of melodies. But I am making a much more conscious effort to kind of think of that. But anyway, so there's lots of kind of starting points you can have. And I think one of the really good starting points that have massively helped me, which I should get back to because it's a really interesting way to do stuff, is use a story, so you can think of a story and use that as a purpose and to start writing music, like there's that story about when I nearly drove my car off a cliff, right? And you can quite easily put fit the hero's journey to it. And if you take that kind of model, then that gives you something to work with, and you can start placing characters, and then you can start asking yourself about, well, what were the characters feeling? What were they physically feeling in a situation? And then how does that, translate to a piece of music? And it gets really interesting when you're doing that, because music is about moving people emotionally, isn't it? And emotions, when you break the word down, has the word motion in it. So we have the power to manipulate feelings over time. So it's not really to be ignored, isn't it? And it's something we can definitely focus into, and that can lead you to really finding like really interesting ways that you can kind of utilize your music making, really. So you can look at an emotion and you can go, right, well, what color is it? All right. And it's like black. What does it, if it was anxiety, right? Okay. What color is it? Like you say black. And then you could say, well, does it move? All right. And then if you think, well, it moves, does it move fast, or does it vibrate, or does it oscillate slowly? And then as soon as when you're getting like colors and movement, you've got like immediately you've got like a key, haven't you? You've got a mood, something that'll translate maybe into a mode. So I mean, for black, obviously it could be something very minory, couldn't it? Or it could be augmented. And then when you've got movement, if you're anxious and it's like really annoying, like vibrations, then that's giving you some sort of a tempo, isn't it? and also the color can kind of give you like the density of notes as well. So you start getting musical information, and you can start taking these to like dictate what you're doing. What do you think about guitar contests, song contests? Do they make you robotic writing process? I just don't do the whole contest thing. I mean, yes, me and Thomas have done them, and it's like a bit of a laugh, right? But seriously, it's like a money-making thing, isn't it, when these things happen? And how can you have a context? Like, you can't have a context, like, because everybody's just expressing their own individual selves. So how can you compare one person to be better than the other? And it just seems wrong to me. You know, how is it being judged? And if it's being judged, you're probably being judged on the wrong things, like the execution or the clarity or all the wrong things about the quality of music. So then, unless it's like schoolwork or something, you didn't meet these standards. It doesn't, like, music to me is about, I was going to say about rebellion, but obviously, like, I've conformed to like the technique of guitar, which is a discipline, right? And what I do is quite, structured in an unstructured, coachy kind of way. But I don't like the idea of judging people in a competition. I like the idea of giving themselves feedback and self-feedback. I don't like the idea of and again, plug in the coaching group. I do coach you on how to give yourself very valuable self-feedback, because at the end of the day, we just need to be expressing ourselves, right? And we just need to know that the music we're making is a good example of what the music wants to be itself. So, I'm a big fan of Victor Woot and stuff, and that's a lot of the time that's how he talks. He talks about fundamentally as music as a spiritual thing, and that it's bigger than us, which obviously it is, and it's something that when we make music, it comes from us and starts existing outside of our body, and then it becomes something that we can interact with. It's almost, to me, like a living, breathing entity of itself that you can, once you start forming it, you can engage with it. Hi Bobby, how you doing? So that's a really interesting kind of idea, and I think the older I get, the more, and I've said this before, the more kind of spiritual I do get about those that feeling towards music, So I think just in general, it gets really heavy now, doesn't it? Then putting my spirituality and music into a contest's no good, is it? It's like saying which religion's better. Let's put that in a context. I'm good, Bobby. Thanks. I don't know, Shets. I mean, like, what do you think? I'll say something positive about a writing contest or a remixing contest, because I have done them before. Is that it gets you moved. It gets you, if you've got nothing and you just want to release something and get it out, but you need to have a purpose, then it can give you a purpose to do something. But to be fair, actually learning to be a musician is about having enough purpose where you don't need any of that. It's to me, a modern musician is about being completely self-reliant and sure of oneself that you're going to be, whether you make a wrong decision or right, there is no wrong or right decision. There's just a decision to be made. The only time a decision can be wrong, actually, is if you decide not to do anything, then you don't have any data to work. But really, just for me, helping musicians just be confident in themselves to be able to just go their own path and not rely on a remix competition or some shitty guitar competition to join because like they need some external validation from it, like or getting feedback on your music because you're not sure. There's the problem. I'm not sure if what I'm doing is very good. Well, how do you get sure about that? Well, you just finish something and you actually release it like all the other artists who are successful, and then you get feedback from that. And what you find is usually most people like whatever you're doing, because good music finds where it wants to be. It's like water, innit? But you certainly don't need to, and it doesn't matter what you make either. It's, I think there's a fan for every type of music, Shirts. Do you consider certain music bad, or what other phrases the music does not resonate with you? I see a lot of people over the internet. Oh, hold on, I'm not fast enough. I see a lot of people over the internet about their favourite bands and comparing them. I don't. Well, I just. It's an interest, right? I tell you what. Okay, this is it. Like, I don't really like jazz fusion, but funnily enough, I've ended up appreciating it because it's inspired me. So I've ended up liking music, right, that I didn't like, right, that I just thought, and I honestly thought, what is the point in this music? Who's listening to this? What do you meant when you think about the purpose of a music? I think, well, who's this for? What, like, if you're not a musician, what are you meant to be doing? Cooking, cleaning, going out, so like I'm very confused about the function of it. But obviously for me, I've ended up really liking that music simply because I've grown into it, and I didn't like it because that was my own immaturity, basically. But now I like it, and only certain types. And when I'm listening to the music, I'm just like really focused in on sort of what instruments are playing and the notes, and I tend to be just listening for certain things. Now it's like the chromatic thing, because that was a problem I had to fix, is because although fundamentally I'm a rock player and I don't want to be too fusiony, I was thinking, right, I need to really expand my playing, and sort of the last sort of bit of my era of my playing's been very much sort of focused on pentatonic scales, and the interesting thing there's an example of a problem is I just wanted a set of limitations that would help me play pentatonics in a more unique way, or would force me into a scenario where I would think differently about the instrument, and then come up with new and interesting things, so it was kind of like a limitation that would expand my playing, and that was the 3-1-3 stuff. So, just doing stuff like that made me kind of play and slightly phrase in a different way. And then you can mix it up with two notes per string. Which is cool. I was just thinking about sort of stuff like that, but then I started to realise that there's only so many nice phrases. You do your pentatonic thing, and then I became very sort of like, my ear started tuning into the 9th note. Oh, it wasn't meant to do the chromatic things. So that note, so then you end up with like a hexatonic scale, don't you? So that was all very interesting. So that's all like, yeah, kind of hexatonic sort of stuff, and then I'm playing either 3-1 notes or 2-1-2. So that's like like I'm in E minor, and that's like a G major 9 arpeggio, but it maps really well with the pentatonic scale and the 9th note. In fact, if you extend it, so it's like got the 11th in it. So in other words, we're playing 3 notes, 1, 3. It's almost like a scale. That, even though those fingerings are quite awkward, I've got to warm my hybrid finger up here. So even though those it's awkward to play, it's a great challenge to get control into your playing, and it's also a great way to see the notes that'll kind of make you phrase in a different way, and then you can combine those with your usual 2-note per string stuff. See? And then you come up with those like other interesting sort of phrases. So, and you do that for a bit, and then and you start getting bored, don't you? Because then you got all these patterns. You got your 3-1-3s all over the fretboard. You've got all these wonderful arpeggios that you can map. And then you're looking at different kind of ways of accessing different note groupings through techniques. So for me, the hybrid picking and economy picking was like massive, you know. And then the other thing is I wanted my playing to be more slippy slidey, and I want not a fusion aspect, but I did want to put like some chromatic stuff in it, and that's been sort of the latest thing. Is like I've gone back to really going for. I mean, like I've always like done chromatic stuff, like I've known about it, but it's just been I've put it to one side because whether my ear wasn't mature enough, right, or just wasn't into it, I just didn't like it, and then for some reason, it's like, oh, this is quite important now. So then I've ended up liking lots of music or listening to music that uses that because I want to hear how other people are doing it. And I think what happens is your ear starts getting conditioned. So as I was using chromatic notes, I had to really think about kind of accepting the sound of it and then get my ear used to how it actually sounds. See, it sounds quite good there, but before, if you'd asked me that, like, 6 months ago, I just don't like that. So you get those nice sort of phrases. So that's the other thing. I've been doing that, like, picking 2 notes and hybrid. And like, it's the one thing I need to really warm up. It's happening there, but you can hear like when you get that going. All the notes pop out, it's really clear. But it's the one thing I'd have to work on is like the tone of my hybrid. It's a great technique to have. You can just do so much stuff with it. Like groups of 4, string skipping. It's cool, isn't it? Yeah. It's almost like learning a lesson from someone you don't care for, but it takes maturity. Yeah, it does. And it's just like I never, back to the competition thing, I never ever learned anything like properly. I'd hear a player and I just want a certain aspect of that playing that they heard inspired me. And then I would just take it, and then do it. Like, so I was just saying before to Smart Alec, I went, I've got like this Joe Bonamassa hack, which was that, right? And all I'm doing is I'm using vaguely the notes. But that's not how he would play it. So because I've arranged it differently, it has a slightly different sound. Although obviously I'm giving a nod to that style, that Eric Johnson thing, because it's got that ninth in it. I mean, they do the phrasing like that groups of five differently. So it's just great then you can take that little pentatonic thing and then mix it up with all the other stuff. So I'm trying to think the evolution of my guitar playing. This is very interesting, isn't it? And then, like, lately I was, like, pulling my hair out about, so, like, because you got 3-1-3 down with your pentatonic scales, just proving I can do it both ways. Because you've got that, the next thing is, well, what else can you do? 2-1-2. Now all I'm doing there is, it's that, but I'm missing the middle note. So you end up with these really nice sort of interesting arpeggio-y type things. And it's great for tension and release because you can... It's like being in a musical non-space for a bit. And then you can kind of create sort of more tension with it or release it by giving people more familiar notes, even though the whole thing's in tune. You can do little sequences with it as well. And then you get bored of that, don't you? I mean, that then gets boring. And then it's like, well, what else can I do? And then the latest thing for me has been on my jazz fusion quest from Chromaticism. I ended up just stumbling on some Tim Miller stuff, and then that was really interesting because it sort of tied in with my hybrid picking. And basically what he was doing is, it's like, again, like he's the master of 2-1-2. So to get me out of this and to get me out of that, basically his approach was really interesting, and I was kind of into sort of stuff that was awkward fingering. So, like when you're looking at the pentatonic scale, what he would do is, so you're kind of skipping the fourth there, and that's the kind of fingerings you're using. But once you start getting that, you can make these wonderful arpeggios. When you start mixing that up with the pentatonic and the modes, you come up with some really nice stuff. like stuff like that. So I'm just stacking minor and major triads. But it's a great way I can get about. I can get about and access like other things in a different way, which makes me phrase differently. But that's fairly a familiar sound. But we can get into like other things where we might. What you can do is you can start making arpeggios, just thinking diatonically, by shifting notes about. So instead of doing that, what if I move the third down? See, that's cool, isn't it? We can start getting into like really crazy stuff, like moving that down and shifting that note up. Now these are a bit awkward to play, I will warn you. Oops. Oh, that's it. So there's like all these cool like little arpeggios. This is a favourite one. So I've got two, like a major and a minor stacked. And then I've got that little, oh, what's it? I suppose like it's a B minor 7 arpeggio. And again, that maps really nice onto your pentatonic stuff. It gives you the 9th note. But like we've got the C note, and that sometimes can be the avoid note and sound a bit crap. So all you do is you just move it up, and we've got that now. So you can just move or alter different arpeggios by doing this 2 on 2, and all you're doing is you think of it across the strings in 3 different cells. That's one cell, and then you just modify notes to fit the key. So again, that C major, didn't want the C because we're in minor, E minor, so that might clash with stuff, so we'll move it to the D. Or we're using sort of the B minor triad. Wow, I talked a bit about that. So that's just like some of the things that you know that I think about expanding on. And then the trick is then putting it into your playing, isn't it? Into an improvisational kind of process. Which is a whole another thing. Yeah. The other thing I've been getting into, which I kind of feel guilty about doing, is just combining 2 pentatonic shapes, right? And playing them with the repeating notes. Whoops. I didn't like the repeating note at first, but now I'm into it. And that's the only thing, like, with 313 is sometimes you do lose a bit of, like, if you top speed with legato. Anyway, just bumped my guitar into that. I got a shock when I bumped into it before. So, oh god, what was that? Right. Let me zoom out. Gramps, I don't often come up with something brand new. When I hear someone else's music, I get ideas from that would make their tune better. So there's many songs that I feel like that's really good, because yes, you're solving a problem that's out there, and that whole thing, that little fractal that you've picked up on, Gramps, is like your style. That's your unique style. That's like Gramps. This is how I would add to that genre of music. And actually, that whole thing, what you're saying there, Gramps, is how I would think. I'd be very conscious of thinking when I was doing a lot of electronic music, and electronic music is like that, so I would hear a gap, but it might just be one instrument. It might just be like, oh, you know what, I'll do house music, but I'll use a dubstep snare or something instead of like claps. And then, like in electronic music, when that happens, you kind of, a whole new genre can like be started, a whole like sub-genre, because when you get into it, like electronic music, it's just genre within genre within genre, and that's how you do it, you know, because by definition a genre is only an agreement between a group of people to describe something. It's a classification, so you can change the classification by just, you know, one. So I'd be interested to hear what, like, an example of what those modifications are, Gramp, that you, when you hear something, and it would be interesting, like this is the kind of thing you do free writes on. Like if you did a free write on that, like unconscious thinking and free write about all the music you hear and all the things that music should have. And I mean just literally 5 minutes on a timer and free write, unedited, so there'll be loads of rubbish and stuff, nobody's going to read it. And then go through it and then pick, you know, analyse it, and then pick all the things that are in that free write that are concrete or can be translated into binary concrete actions. Like how would you know, because then you quite clearly see a set of problems, and then it's like, just okay, here are the problems, what are the opportunities, and then if you can solve those, I'm very excited at this, Gramps. If you could solve those problems, in fact, Gramps, you're going to have some homework. I want you to, after this call, I want you to do a free, in fact, while you're doing this call, whilst you're watching this broadcast, I want you to do a free write. Do a free write. I'll put I've got my timer here for you, and I want to know what the problems are, because I think the problems are, you know, problems are everything. Because once you have those problems that are clear, you can describe a problem, you can explain a problem. So if you have the explanation of the problem, then you're going to get the solutions. And because the solutions are coming from explanations, right? It means that an explanation is something that you can use as a model and rinse and repeat. And that's why an explanation is really, really good. You know, you actually have a tool that you can just bang, use, and then you've got your style. Right, free right now. I'm just joking, by the way, but I'll put the timer on just in case you do. Yeah. Because I think that's an important thing, Gramps. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a lot of value. I mean, like things like that, you realise that there's a problem solving, and you don't need to learn anything. You already know the information to solve the problem. It's just finding it in your head, you know, and then connecting it all up, and it gets, you know, it's incredibly exciting. I'm getting very excited off what you said there. Oh, here's Enzo. Hi, Enzo. Let's have a look. What's Enzo saying? Hi, Tim. Not ghosting, being dealing with some health problems. Oh, sorry to hear that. But just wanted to drop in real quick. Well, I hope your health's good now. If not, I'm sure it'll get better. And Enzo, I hope you're doing lots of music because music is one of the things. I'll tell you how it is in my professional terms as a therapeutic music, as what psychology would call it is, Enzo, a protective factor. So we all of us musicians here will have our metaphorical musical suit of armor that actually helps us get through life. I mean, God, music's helped me get through some terrible things, And when you're feeling ill, sad, depressed, just because, like, at the end of the day, right? Okay, let's be realistic about this. It's all great, me being on here, sparkly and great and wonderful, right? But the world is a bit like, dodgy at the minute, and things happen, and we end up like poorer than what we were before, and it gets to everybody. And the one thing that you do have is you do have your music, and you have your emotions, and we can keep those intact and healthy by just playing a little bit, even if it's just a bit of blues or something like that, Yeah, a bit of blues, yeah. Actually, I'm not in a very bluesy mood today. But yeah, so I hope you get well soon, Enzo. And if you want to go, if you just ghost, I'm okay. Being a ghost's fine. Right, here's a biggie. Alright, you still got 2 minutes of your free rate going there, Gramps. Here's a biggie. Ever listened to Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin? Page plays his famous lead run, then he starts to play. Come on. A second round, and then it's ripping, and it just quits. I keep hearing it going. So when he's not playing, you can still hear it. Yeah, so that's cool. So yeah, just do it. The protective factor keeps you going. It's that's the thing. You get that hybrid picking going. So it's really interesting hybrid picking because I woke up this morning and my fingers, like at the end of it's really soft. So it's like a pick. You can just pick it up and then start playing, and then it's just down to how worn the thing is. But like for some reason, I've got to like play to get the ends of my fingers feeling right. So, yeah. So other things that have been interesting this week have the live looping. Oh, that's the timer, Gramps. But Gramps, yeah, I mean, I'm only having fun there. But it would be great if you had a look at what you were saying before, just about being able to hear gaps in people's music, because I want to know what that is. And that would be a whole discussion to be had on a call that I would more than like to have. Because these are the things, I know we sit down and spend hours practicing and doing and stuff like that, and that's important, but we can also go in with the mindset shift and everything changes, and suddenly we have direction in what we're doing. And the way to be successful is to actually at least know what you're going to do next, whether it's right or wrong. Foreigner Jukebox Hero. The song ends with a few bars of a completely different vibe, and it rips. Why didn't they exploit that? That's interesting. So, so the next fit, what I would do, Gramps, right? I think like another indication in that, what I would do is just run, because you need to do an explanation. So you're describing, but what is the explanation there? Now, I think a way to get this explanation would be, and allow me to explain, is to do that direct listen. Oh, have I got a pen? You probably know what I'm going to say. But anyway, like, I think the way it is, have a listen to that, to the Jukebox Hero, okay? And what I want you to do is, I want you to get a pen and a piece of paper, and I want you to draw the tension and release of that song, okay? And just map it out. So, and don't get it mixed up with energy, right? So when you listen to the music, feel not just in your head, but the tension release in your body of what's actually happening. So when you feel the tension building, then the line goes up, okay? And when it releases, the line will come down. And when things release, even if it's sudden, like a chorus dropping into a verse, what you'll find is actually when you're observing what's happening in your body, it's actually the line just falls down gradually. It's not a straight drop off a cliff. That would be AI. So map out the tension and release in the song. And then the other thing would be interesting is to then look at how that tension and release maps with the lyrics and the purpose of the track. So that what is the story that they're trying to tell? And then it would be interested to see, was there something missing in the purpose that made them then come to that decision that they needed some sort of conclusion? That may then lead you to the idea of why didn't they exploit that? So that could be a way of description and potentially explanation. How does that sound? I think it's a good idea. Oh, I've got my missus' glasses there. Right, there you go. Right. So, other things. Does this jacket fit okay? It's super dry. You're saying I had to get a double I had to get a double XL. And I don't think I need a 3X. Yeah. All right then. So it's been good. I mean, I haven't planned anything for this morning, but it's been we're having a really good discussion here, and I think like a lot of the things that we're saying are far more important than me playing loads of notes. You mean I'm not just empirically correct? No, I think you know you're not made up of circuitry, Gramps. You're not a robot. You're not a Terminator. So when you feel the release of music, it will gradually dissipate. It won't just suddenly go woof, out of your body. But it's a great way to analyze music as well as a tension and release. And as I always say, it's like when you're playing solos as well. I really like that game of like feeling tension and release in your body, which is another reason why I'm going to use chromaticism and bunch notes together, and why I want to get good at using wide intervals, right? Like this, it isn't like I've gone, I want to use wide intervals. The reason I'm using wide intervals or other arpeggios and things like that fundamentally is because I want to have different ways I can play with tension and release. It's like, so notes that have, thirds give you more certainty, don't they? But when you start removing that, right, in close harmony, and then we start putting like seconds and maybe like and even the fourths and using fourths, then the tension releases, okay, and then we can do mixtures of that to blend tension and release. So it's like lots of ways we can do it. Wide interval stuff can give you tension, so we can close interval stuff. But then when we start adding like major minor notes in, and that gives us more certainty. And obviously the pentatonic scale gives you lots of certainty. But within that, we have different gradings of tension, don't we? And Guthrie Govan talks about this really well, doesn't he? I mean, like one of the most tension notes in the pentatonic scale is going to be the fourth, because you want it starting something on that fourth makes you want to you just want to release it to somewhere else, don't you? Like, I don't want that to stop there. It has to go somewhere. So that's the most conclusive you can be. That's going to a root. So yeah, the pentatonic is like full of like these different tension and releases. So you kind of learn this, and you learn the numbers, and then you forget about it, and then you just start using your ear and playing. Oh, that's been the one I've been practicing. This is like this week is the stretch between these two fingers. So you like the sound of those arpeggios? It's like stuff like that's just like weird kind of fingerings and note groupings, but sound familiar. Because you get the little bluesy micro bends. So I like blending the kind of very traditional micro bending with like wide intervals. So you can come up with like some really cool tension release phrasing from that, you know. Alright, so we've got a little bit of time. I'm gonna end about 7:30. So one of the things I was meaning to do is before I got sidetracked, is live looping. So I've got basically my guitar templates. So I have a couple of templates, and I have like the guitar template, right, which is what I've booted up today, which I'm just using to play my microphone through, obviously, which is this. And but I really like the idea of looping, and me and Thomas have been having a look at like various solutions to looping. I've bought various Max for Live looping devices, none of which have quite hit the mark. But I think Thomas might have stumbled on something, which is using your Live Logic, and I think I'm going to be setting this up for tomorrow, and then we can give it a bit of a test run. But ideally, what it's going to mean is I'm going to take the basis of this template, make some sort of decision on, because the limitation is I can only have 6 tracks. So we've got 2 bass, and then I can have 4 guitar. So I have to decide on what kind of guitar stuff I want in there, and then put those in, and then we'll take it from there basically. I think that should work out quite good, because I'm interested to see how proper looping kind of works out, really. But yeah, unfortunately the Live Logic is only wired for the first 3 tracks in Ableton. So it's going to be an interesting experiment. That's its limitation, but actually we can work with that limitation, can't we? We can think, right, well, you know, what's going to be important guitar sound wise. So I'm thinking like one way of doing it is like I'm thinking about going the way of like just having 6 separate tracks for guitar, but I could actually just have 6 separate audio channels and then 1 guitar, but then be able to change the patches on it. Might be another way. So I haven't fully decided, so we're gonna experiment, that's for sure. But if there wasn't that solution, I suppose, like if you start using push, you can get it so you can arm tracks and record, but the only problem I got there is where my push is. Like, this is a great solution, because I can go anywhere on this. See there, we're away, aren't we? and I can just patch in, long press. That's going to happily go. You know, so you can quickly make something that way, but unfortunately, it doesn't look very good. Like here, just not much of a performance, is it? So ideally, I want to be facing this way and not looking at the computer. That's the challenge, isn't it? Which I think will be difficult. Might just have to look at the computer. Right. Anybody want to ask any final quick questions or anything like that? So just finally, so where obviously, like, I do lots of free stuff and like cool stuff like that, what it's all about. But anybody here who wants to take their music career further, or not even a music career, but just actually want to just make and finish music, especially if you're a guitarist, right, and you're sick of like absolutely boring, tiring crap in jam tracks and just want to make your own, then I can help you massively with that, and I can get you prolifically making music, which you can be recording your guitar and potentially releasing. And even, in fact, I'm coaching somebody at the minute who's making guitar backing tracks. This is the intention, and going to actually just put them up there on a YouTube channel. So, which would technically make money, because everybody wants jam tracks, don't they? So if you're kind of a guitarist and you want to make just bottom line music for you to jam over and then perhaps release, great, this is for you. If you want to seriously make music and release it, then the coaching is definitely for you. And it doesn't matter whether you're a guitarist or not. The whole thing is designed around all music. All you have to have is some sort of a DAW, digital audio workstation, that you can just record your ideas into. And that is like the only requirement, and that you know a bit about how it works. Other than that, nobody listens to each other's music. You're working independently on your own, and I guide you through different sort of games that will give you insight into your creative being. As I say, like on here, I was saying to Smart Alec, this, you know, what you hear here is only the tip of the iceberg. When we're in the coaching, really, like, that's where it starts. But I'm very happy sitting here helping people however I can help them, or just talking about my experiences with music is perfectly fine, and shredding and playing, that's really cool as well. So anybody who's interested in coaching, I do need to see you for a quick half an hour call before I let you into the group. But apart from that, the email is in the description, or it's in the about. And just send me an email saying, hey Tim, I'm interested in coaching, and I'll get back to you, okay? And The price for the coaching is $237 a month, and you'll meet me in a room for 2 hours per week. And preferably you want to do the coaching for at least 3 months, because we do have this thing called, which I'm actually changing the name of, Automatic Music Machine. And that's kind of like the foundation of how we sort of do things. So we need 3 months to make sure we get that embedded. But apart from that, that's enough from me, and I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Thanks for coming along and listening to me rant on. It's been a pleasure. All right then, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.